Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Go Go Loser Rangers Season 2, Episode 6, sorry. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we catch up with Hibiki, the real Hibiki, obviously. We still don't have a clear answer between what exactly happened to him between he went to go visit Ouroboros and then like that guy found him in the trash. I can only assume they were responsible for what happened to him. Like either he got like the entire school joined together and beat him up. Maybe it was like Gato in particular or Gato and Wakaba because he seems to have met with Wakaba. So I can only assume it means like they ended up beating him up. Maybe they drew him into the illusion, but he wouldn't bite until they eventually kicked him out of it. And that's how he ended up where he is. I can only assume because at least from his perspective, nothing else really came up. But he's like, oh, I got to go back and deal with Ouroboros how much time passed in between him confronting Ouroboros and then being found and recovering, because they probably did a number on him because maybe he was out for a couple days, because later on Hisui is like, oh, we didn't eat for a week. So that's the thing of like they were trapped in there for the confines of a week, but I don't know if it's like on the outside of that fake reality had it been a week, or was it like once again hyperbolic time chamber rules, or like the parallel I made was like the Chainsaw Man Infinity Demon situation in that hotel. Like, was it like you were actually only in there for like a couple hours and just inside it felt like days or whatever type of situation? That's unclear. But either way, by the time Hibiki gets back there, everything's already been resolved, and the information he was looking for, because we're not entirely sure what it was that he was looking for, but we know that he was aware of like Wakaba's involvement in everything. I believe it is a situation of whereas D is trying to destroy the entire organization as a of the Rangers as a whole, because he's just trying to kill the Dragon Keepers as well. Hibiki sees the good in the organization and he's just trying to cut out the cancer. And I guess he figured like Wakaba might be kind of a like that whole situation, because especially because Wakaba made a deal with like Magatia, a boss monster, that maybe other like maybe there's something there that connects with other people in the organization, like some of the bad, or maybe it exposes the rot within the organization that he plans on cutting out. Who knows what he was trying to get, but there was some information that was in that desk and I'm not sure just what it was. Maybe it has to correlate with the green squad, considering they're the ones that go after boss monsters, so maybe there's something there. But whatever it was, the information is going now. And obviously it seems like the true heart of all this is his sister, because it's like, right, Hibiki believes in the Rangers, and he's like, I want to become a Dragon Keeper, and his sister's like, I'm going to make sure that never happens. So I guess because something I wasn't sure about in season 1 was I don't think Hibiki knows his sister's the Pink Dragon Keeper, but now I'm like, maybe he does, and that's his whole reason for fighting too. It's like he wants to like, because he feels like his sister's taken up this position. She's kind of like stuck. She doesn't like, she's doing this for kind of his sake and more, where it's just like, I'm trying to protect you, so I will play the role of a villain. I'll be a part of something bad, but it's like I want to cut out the rot so my sister doesn't have to be in a position she's in. Or maybe it's just, maybe he thinks there's something else at play here. Maybe he doesn't know his sister's the Dragon Keeper, and he thinks like, because he's like, whoa, who are these people? Why are they taking you away? So maybe he thinks something else is at play here, that the Dragon Keepers are kind of keeping his sister under lock and key or whatever. But like I said, I get the feeling like he knows his sister is the Pink and Dragon Keeper, and he's trying to protect her from that. At this school, there's a couple there. Was it Kana and Kisu, or is it? I can't remember the woman's name, but like it's this couple, and there's a monster there. I don't know if that's the same kaiju thing. It might be, because that's the only other thing we've really seen out and about that Red didn't want to deal with before, and it killed people at the zoo, and they're trying to make it seem like it was like a rogue lion that busted out and killed a whole bunch of people. But I think that might, because I think that kaiju thing is kind of blobbish like that too, but it might be something else differently, so I might be completely wrong. But yeah, I love the whole thing of like, she's like, oh, I'm about to get eaten, you should go. And he's like, I'm not going to leave you. We're going to die together. In fact, we'll fight this thing with the power of love. But it's Hibiki showing up. Got to give him credit, handing his own without any like ranger equipment like one of those beam swords or guns, relying purely on his own strength and will, especially considering he is. I did kind of figure, oh yeah, you did amputate your own hand, just work into your favor with into your plan with fighter D, but he pushed it out the window, which I doubt it's dead. But luckily, the couple grabbed him because they're like, "Hey, you're our savior, our benefactor, so we need to save you." So that's what we see of Hibiki. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting to catch up with him to find out like where he's gonna go next and how important this couple is. Like we're going through the trouble of introducing them. They must be play some key role in Hibiki's story going forward, or they play some milestone in it. So it's gonna be interesting to see where that goes. But we also catch up with the Green Squad because they're out celebrating and eating, and there's this interesting conversation where D is asking Hisui because it's like, well, Uskubo was under the control of all those false memories and stuff, and now he's asking like, right, do you, even though you saw me as my duster form, do you remember anything? And Hisui hesitates, and she just goes, no, I don't remember anything. I was like, bullshit, she knows. But also, I was like, she's not acting upon it because she wouldn't be the first person who found out what he is and who he is. I mean, well, Suzukiri, which is obviously very relevant to this episode, knows about his situation, in fact, taking advantage of it. Someone else who gets brought up this episode is Ranmaru. He found out who D was, but he kind of shares a slight situation with like Hibiki where he's just like, right, to get what he wants, he's like, I'll work with a monster because also you don't seem like you're as bad. So he kind of shares the same sentimentality as Hibiki, but not I think not to that same degree as Hibiki when it comes to how he views monsters. But what was also interesting too was that Urabe and Yukino show up and they're like, oh yeah, we heard about your mission. They're like, yeah, like Uskubo and Fighter D thought like, yeah, you heard what we did, but they're like, yeah, we heard you did some boring countryside mission. We had to deal with delinquents, and Uskubo and D are looking and you're like, wait, what? And so Hisui shuts Fighter D up from saying what they were really up to. So this kind of plays into a conversation I had last episode about we don't know how, like, it seems like the Ranger organization as a whole might be very divided. It's on a need to know basis. So it's like, it's a question of, well, how much does any individual, like, squad or people in the organization know? Like, is there stuff only the drag? Well, there's definitely stuff only the Draggers and Keepers knows. And, but like, are there things like only certain ranked people, like Hisui being like a higher junior ranked member, does she know something others don't? Or, do senior members know stuff that junior members don't know? That type of situation. Because last episode I was bringing up like, do the other dragon keepers know who each other is? So like if that information isn't known, do all the members of the squads know? Like obviously, like Uskubo and Fighter D are new, so of course they wouldn't know about Chidori's real identity, but he's sweet dude. But it's like, do other people in other organizations know? Like I said, because I don't remember if they've been around each other outside of being in their ranger forms. Like that's the only time we really see them all gathered together. Because I feel like I remember Red and Blue being around each other, not in their powered up forms, but I could be mistaken. So like I said, it just goes back to that point of like, oh, why, like it's information segmented by groups and stuff like that. So only some of the Dragon Keepers know what the Green organization does, or maybe like Green like squad is like, no, like only we know, not even the other Rangers or even Dragon Keepers know what we do. I don't know. No, that's not the case, because I forgot. We meet Noah, who's from the Pink squad, and any classified information gets passed to them, because it's like, right, our squad is like on the lower end of physical, like offensive capabilities, so they're the ones that kind of like handle like a lot of the more information structure. So we know like Yellow is like the R&D, the research and development section. So I guess Pink is like more so like the, I don't know if espionage angle would be like the more appropriate, but they're information disseminators and I guess gatherers in a lot of ways, maybe. So it's like, yeah, so it is a thing of other people, like, so the other squads know what Green does, but it's like they know like, oh, you're on missions, but they think they're boring missions. So I guess all their monster hits, like going after the boss monsters are classified. So yeah, like I said, Urabe and Yukino had no idea, which I think also makes sense because it's like you don't want that information slipping out publicly because the general public's perception is, hey, the Rangers and Keepers have this whole monster thing on lockdown. We have the Sunday competitions and stuff, but like they do not allow any information about there being other monsters that are dangerous, like Red's doing his whole like cover up tour of like the whole zoo situation, but also they don't want the public to know that there are boss monsters like running around and stuff. So stuff like that is interesting. So like I get you don't want the public to know about it. So I'm sure that's another reason to keep the circle of people in the know about it super small and tight. It's like I said, that's why I'm like it's probably a ranking thing. Maybe other people of a similar rank to Hisui as like a higher ranked third, as higher ranked junior member. Maybe some of the others from the different squads know. Like I said, it could just be like a no. Their squad is only like the ones in real know and stuff like that. I don't know. Like I said, there's a lot of major questions about a lot of that. There's but we also have the conversation between D and Urabe because it's like okay, we should kind of all meet up again and stuff like that. And it's like, what are you fighting for? And Urabe is like, I want to fight for my brother and my sister, my little brother and my little sisters, and because we know Shion's reason for fighting was because like his parents or his family was killed by a boss monster. Oh no, it wasn't. Was it his parents or was it his like one of his older brother was killed by one? Because yeah, because last episode he was the last season he was the one pushing for like the boss monsters are out there and no one believes me and doesn't think it's true. So that whole I forgot about that conversation. So he's a character that's motivated to take down the monsters, and he wants to kind of crush all monsters. And some other people have that same perspective. And D was wondering if that was the case. And Urabe brings up the Ramaru of it all because he's like, Ramaru was like almost killed by that boss monster, but he's like, I'd like to believe like someone he knows like someone made sure that Ramaru survived, and he's like, it has to be the guy the monster that disguised itself as Ramaru, and it even told me back then that he was alive. So it's like not all the monsters can be totally bad if that's the case. He's like I'm not really sure, and he's like you Hibiki are the most like positive when it comes to the monsters. Where do you stand on it? For him, it's like when it comes if you hesitate in a battle, it's death, and it's like right that's kind of what that comes down to. So you can't get too sentimental and stuff like that in battle because if you do, you will end up dying. It's like right, we're not going to die, we're going to fight to survive. So, and obviously this episode really brings into question a lot of because D was so certain of it in the season finale last season of what side of things he chose, and he chose his side. It's like I'm gonna fight both the Rangers and the boss monsters. I'm gonna take them both down, and he seems solidified in that. But I think it comes to question that this episode because I think there was a little bit of a dissonance where like he could like recognize like yes the keepers are humans, but he can villainize them because he doesn't know them. They're like the keepers. He doesn't know them on a personal level, so it makes it easier to kind of disconnect with them. Whereas like when it comes to the humans, he built a bond with this squad. He cares about them. I mean, just like Uskubo, like he does worry about her, and he like wants to fight not only for his dream but also her dream as well. He wants her to be okay like the entire time she was under Makita's control the past few episodes. So he ends up meeting up with Suzukiri and they exchanging information. It's like, cool, let's go kill the Green Dragon Keeper. So they're following him. We see this is the first time D's been in this form since like maybe episode 3 of last season was the last time he took this one, because ever since he's been Hibiki, he's pretty much stayed Hibiki. I don't think he's ever transformed back into this human form since maybe episode 3 of last season, but I could be misremembering. But yeah, him and Suzukiri, and I love that she's wearing this outfit, and she's like, oh, what is it? Is it a little too cute? And he was like, no, it's actually pretty lame, and she lobs off his head. And he's like, actually, God, it takes me back. She's like, me too. So I'm glad to be working with you. And so they're following him to a movie theater, to like an arcade where there's crane games and stuff. And she Suzukiri's kind of an oddball, so she's kind of really leaning into like the having fun of it all. But it's like, don't take away like her seriousness and motivation for it. It might seem like she's not motivated, but she has her reasons. We just don't know what they fully are. I'm assuming, because I think there was references to like a cult or something that maybe the divine artifacts were taken from, like the, because I think there were hints to it last season that she might have belonged to some group or a cult, or like some religious organization in general that might have borderline on a cult, where like the Dragon Keepers might have stole a lot of their powers and like their divine artifacts from, because there's so much on that front we don't know much about. So it might be like a little bit of retribution is what she's going after, why she wants to destroy the organization, because the backbone of what it was built off of took away from people and probably killed people she cared about to keep this on the hush hush. So I wonder, has Suzukiri like hidden her background to the point no one knows, like she's associated with this group or what? Or is it a thing of, we know exactly who you are, but we're going to let you be in the position you are in because we don't think you can do anything? Because they haven't really done anything about the whole like, well, she does have Blue's divine artifact, you know. And even Dee asked her, like, what are you going to do when you get all of them? She's like, I'm not going to do anything. I think it's just for the purpose of, like I said, if she belonged to a religious group, which it seemed like she might have been a part of, they're all gone. So she's not necessarily, she's kind of doing it for their sake, but also doing it for her own sake. It's like, as long as I could take this power away from them, like, the aftermath of it is what it is. So I don't know if it's a plan of kind of like a, almost like a Thanos thing of like trying to destroy this, like, well, yeah, like he destroys the stones after he does what he does. I'm wondering if like that's kind of Suzukiri's perspective. I want to destroy these divine artifacts or make it so that the Rangers can never use them. So I don't know if that's the perspective she's coming from. We just like I said, don't know enough. But she's asking Dee, like, is he properly ready to kill Green? And they stroll upon where he's at, and we see he has like potentially a wife and kid. We see him meeting with people, so that's, he has some sort of family. So once again, he had the dissonance before of like, okay, I can view you as the Green Ranger and nothing else, but now it's like it makes him, it humanizes him, where it's like, oh, he has people he cares about. Where D is like, I'm just going after the Dragon Keepers because they're not good people, so I can take them out, no problem. But now it's like, well, they were important to someone else. Even his fight with Blue, he didn't kill Blue. That was kind of like taken out of sin. That was Petrola. But at the same time, it's like, he still had a dissonance of, I didn't know you as Blue, like outside of being Blue, I didn't know your backstory. We as the audience know his backstory. His right hand knew his backstory. You know, I think Red knew a little bit of his backstory, but like, you know, so it's a little bit of an easy, you know, like dehumanization of like, you're just a target to me. But now it's like, makes it a little more difficult. But before they are able to kind of get towards Chidori, Urabe and Yukino show up. So it's like, oh boy, how do we handle this situation? And like, he's got hesitations about it because like, these are people, like, in a grand scheme, these are his friends and he doesn't want to hurt them. He doesn't want to kill them. Obviously, Suzukiri doesn't have that limitation because she goes after Yukino, and she brings up this interesting, because like Yukino was like, please don't kill me, because Yukino recognizes like, why can't my attacks go through? And she immediately like, right, they fought against her during their exam, and she's like, oh, I recognize this immediately, even though she's wearing a mask, even though that shouldn't be a deterring factor, even though it should be pretty clear it's her, but still. When it's all said and done, she's like, please don't kill me. And she's like, oh, it's interesting. Like, you're already living in a vision of, you're already seeing a vision of me killing you. And she's like, it's interesting because there are fates worse than death for people who can't die in this. I don't know what she was phrasing that as. I wasn't fully sure how, understanding what she was saying. I don't know if the implication was supposed to be like, because like ghosts are always around, like because there's always this life of like, there's always someone to remember you, you never truly die, so like death is almost kind of like this endless. I don't know if that's me reading way too much into that. I'm probably like completely misinterpreting that. We never saw what she did to Yukino, but she most likely just knocked her out because her target is Chidori, but it is like the organization as a whole. But that's where her and like Deer in that spot where it's like, are you perfectly fine with just killing the keepers? Can you do that without any problems? Because eventually someone else is going to rise up through those ranks and fill those voids. But it's like, these dragon keepers are the ones who kind of set a lot of stuff in motion. Most of them were a part of the whole like enslaving the monsters and the dusters and manipulating them to keep up this facade and stuff. But yeah, Chidori shows up, and Also, like, well, I guess I think she showcased it last season. I was like, man, Suzukiri is like stupidly strong. Like the way she like set Yukino flying and stuff like that, and obviously to the point she's even able to just with one punch break Chidori's mask to some extent. So once again, that remote divine artifact is like pretty crazy powerful. So, but we see like for a moment when she's staring at Chidori, and it's specifically the divine artifact, it triggers something in her, a memory. I think it was someone telling her to like to run away or survive or something like that. So once again, I think leaning into like the religious group she was a part of, whether they were a cult or whether they were just a religious group, who knows? Once again, I'm leaning more cult, but there might be my own biases putting coming into play there. But the end result is that Chidori comes out on top. Like neither her no nor fighter D went into this fight. I think she was a little bit more motivated in this fight than D was because he was hesitant too much in it, to the point like D is like he doesn't pull the trigger like he should, because Chidori's like, if you were really serious about this, you would just blown that up without, saying your useless talk. It's like, well, he's a talker. He does his all villain monologue and stuff. That's what he does. But he's like, when it's all said and done, it's like, you could have taken me down, but you hesitated. He's like, I'm disappointed in you because like I know who you really are. In fact, he's like, my little greed-eyed little salamander lizard thing, I had it watch you and stay close to you while we were still in the illusion. So I saw your confrontation with Wakaba. I know who you are. He's like, then why'd you let me do what I'm doing? He's like, I wanted to see what you were all about. And he's like, I'm disappointed. Like, he's like, if you're going to be the bad guy and come after us, then lean into being the monster that you are. But it's like, he doesn't know about, the internal struggle that D went through last season in the finale about where he stands on it. But I think this kind of brought into the logistic questioning of what he's doing, because it's like, how far are you willing to go to accomplish it, to take down the Green Rangers and stuff, and then the Keepers and the Ranger organization as a whole. Like, are you willing to kill innocent people? Are you willing to go against your friends who you will be pitted against? Are you willing to go as far as taking Chidori away from his family? Are you willing to cut down his family to get to him? Those are questions of like, we don't know how far Suzukiri is willing to go, because she might be willing to go even further than D is, but he's conflicted in that moment. She is not. It's like, I'm going to do this, and I'm set on doing it. So that is a big thing, because he was a lot more determined in his fight, because like there was not as much hesitation when it was him and D having when D and Blue were having their fight last season. So that is something to keep in mind as well. So. But for Chidori, it's like, I'm going to let you go because like a low-ranked monster like you isn't even worth being concerned about. And that's like the most frustrating thing for D. It's like being looked down upon by these people. And he's like, you letting me go, you're going to rue the day that you did this. Not, he didn't say the day you're going to rue the day, but it's still to think of, you're going to regret doing this. But it's like Chidori doesn't see him as a threat, even more so because you seemed hesitant, and you're like, are you really going to pretend to care about people even though like you're not human? Like, these multifaceted and complicated. So yeah, the question is like, what's that like going forward? Because it's like, well, it's pretty heavily implied that Hisui knows who you are. Now, I doubt Chidori said anything to Hisui. I think Hisui just remembers seeing him transform into his duster form. So I'm sure like that's all there is to it. But Chidori knows, so he could have told her, but I'm sure that's on a need to know basis. I'm sure he wanted to keep that to himself because he probably didn't know how Hisui would respond, or maybe he knows Hisui knows. He was just curious to see what she does with that information without him saying anything. Because he probably's like, I don't like to bark orders. I just kind of lead the squad to have its autonomy. So whatever Hisui does with that information, I'm not bestowing it upon her. I know she knows. I'm just curious to see what she does. Just like he was motivated to see what Fighter D was going to do. Like, that's why he just like, despite everything, it's like, well, we did what we did, and you fought the way you fought prior to you knowing about me being me. But even upon me showing up, you're still helping out the way you did. So that might be all there is to it, but it's like, that's going to be an awkward thing going forward, especially considering like Uskubo will be the one person out of the loop. Because Hisui probably knows, but she doesn't know that Chidori knows. But I'm betting that Chidori knows that she knows, but he's not going to let her know that he knows. So how does that work for this group going forward? A lot of like, once again, who knows what, and who's saying anything and what they're doing about it, or lack of actions about these things. It's going to be interesting to see where the next episode takes us going forward with all of this. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.